You're listening to Chapter 12, the last chapter of the day evacuation order went up. Aiko's 6 days before camp. This episode is part of Stories from Camp, a continuing series of Japanese-American narratives told as quiet nighttime historical dramas. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and listen to the next chapter or the whole story on our YouTube channel or your podcast player. If you'd like to hear more, you can explore the rest of the library on our channel. Chapter 12, The First Step Toward Departure. Before dawn, the apartment glowed in a soft gray that blurred the edges of every box and suitcase. Aiko woke to the faint clatter of her mother tying string around a stack of neatly folded blankets. The sound was gentle but carried an urgency that nudged her fully awake. She rose quietly and stepped into the hallway, the floor cool beneath her feet, the faint chill of early morning settling into her skin. Her mother stood at the kitchen table, fingers moving with practiced precision. The lamplight created a small island of warmth around her, illuminating the lines of fatigue etched along her face. She looked up when Aiko approached. There was no need for words. They had moved beyond explanations. They worked. Aiko walked to the bundles waiting beside the table and picked up one of the half-packed boxes. Its weight pressed into her arms, familiar and grounding. She moved it to the door, setting it down beside the others, stacks of practical items, wrapped ceramics, shoes tied together by their laces, blankets rolled tight. Each box held something they had chosen to carry forward, and something they had been forced to leave behind. Her father entered the room moments later, fastening the last button on his shirt. His eyes looked hollow from too little sleep, but he offered them a small, steady nod. He didn't speak either. He simply stepped in beside them and tied one final knot on the last box, his hands moving slowly as if memorizing the gesture. Aiko's younger brother wandered in half asleep, rubbing his eyes. Her mother brushed his hair gently from his forehead and told him to wash up. The day would demand more from him than he understood. The scent of miso simmering on the stove rose through the kitchen, simple, comforting, almost out of place. Aiko poured small bowls for the family, handing them out with careful movements. They ate in silence, each spoonful grounding them in the present. Her father paused once, looking at the table with an expression that suggested he was imprinting it into memory, the place they had shared breakfasts, late-night meals, whispered talks after long workdays. When the meal ended, Aiko washed the bowls and set them upside down on the towel. She knew her mother intended to leave them behind. The thought pressed against her chest, yet she dried each bowl with steady hands. The sky began to lighten outside the window. A thin line of rose-colored light formed along the horizon. Aiko stepped onto the fire escape, breathing in the cool dawn air. The city looked calm from this height, quiet streets, shuttered shops, roofs catching the first hints of morning. She held the moment for a long breath, then another, letting the cool wind anchor her. This was her home. These streets, these lights, these rooftops. They belonged to her. No notice, no deadline, no forced departure could rewrite that truth. The city might move on without them, but she would carry it. Every corner, every scent, every sound had shaped her. And she would bring those pieces with her because they lived inside her now as surely as her own heartbeat. She stepped back inside. Her mother tied the final knot on a bundle of linens. Her father lifted 2 suitcases, the handles worn smooth from years of use. The apartment, once full of laughter, meals, noise, rhythm, stood quiet and bare now. The echoes of their life lingered in the corners, but the rooms had already begun giving themselves back to emptiness. Aiko picked up her own suitcase. The weight felt real and solid, but not unbearable. Inside lay the items she had chosen, some for survival, some for memory, some for reasons she couldn't explain even to herself. She stood in the doorway with her family, the early light filtering around them. Her mother locked the door gently, lingering with her hand on the frame. Her father touched her shoulder. Aiko stepped forward, her suitcase in hand, feeling a calmness settle inside her, not confidence, not certainty, but readiness. A quiet authority she had claimed over the last few days, shaped not by power but by endurance and clarity. The 6 days had begun. Aiko took the first step down the staircase. The morning air shifted around her, cool and bright, carrying the faint scent of rice from a neighboring kitchen. She lifted her chin and walked toward the street where the trucks would eventually arrive. Whatever waited ahead, she would meet it with steady hands. And she would remain herself. Thank you for listening to Chapter 12, the last chapter of the day evacuation order went up. Aiko's 6 days before camp. This episode is part of Stories from Camp, a continuing series of World War II Japanese-American narratives told as quiet, nighttime historical dramas. If you like this narrative storytelling, please like, subscribe and listen to other stories on our YouTube channel, or your podcast player if you'd like to hear more. You can explore the rest of the library on our channel. And if you're a storyteller or creator who wants to collaborate with us, you can reach out anytime at redressradio.com.